Alrighty. Come on, YouTube. Let's do this. Okay. Good afternoon, folks, and welcome to Smudcast number 278. This is not original, is lazy criticism. This comes from the YouTuber CellSpex, and this is a month-old video. Well, it came out in April, and this is almost 100K views from a channel that has over 250,000 subs. So I don't know much about this channel aside from what I read on the About page. It seems to be a film art criticism thing. Pretty typical stuff on YouTube these days. But I don't know too much about the video. I only watched a few minutes. It seems fine. Might have a few slight issues in theory. But we've heard the argument before of, oh, this is just like this. This is just another version of that. Like Final Fantasy VII is just a version of Final Fantasy VI with more money. But when you bring it down to that, that's pretty much what it is. It's a good game, but it's definitely taking the plot and character and setting of 6, refining it, throwing in a bigger budget, better hardware, better software, and voila, Final Fantasy VII. Not to say that this is pretty common in Final Fantasy games in general, but that's just how it goes in my mind. So I don't mind using these arguments where, oh, it's just like KOTOR, only it's like this, so long as you explain yourself. You can't just say Need for Speed is just like Project Gotham. It's like, not exactly. There are some similarities. Obviously, it's a racing game, but there's lots of uniqueness and differences with lots of video games and stories. And as long as you're intelligent to point it out, there's nothing wrong with having that sort of simplicity. But unless the person you're talking to is an expert on the field, that's where you're like, okay, then we can get into details, nitty-gritties. And that's the good part. That's where you share ideas so that you can understand things better from another perspective, especially when you're not as fluent in something as you thought you might be. So this video is 13 minutes long. Shouldn't take too long. And I think we should be okay. I think we're all in the watch together here. Yep. Alrighty. Let's get going.
This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Squarespace is an all-in-one website building service that's a great step for anyone needing
to... Did anyone here use Squarespace before, by the way?
I feel like I've memorized this script at this point.
Has anyone signed up?
I've never used it.
It's like this in fucking Skillshare.
It's
the exact same script every time, and it's like, oh my god.
I don't mind them selling stuff, but it's like, just sign up because I'm a YouTuber. It's like, why? Just do it after. I'm not here for Squarespace.
It's like the unholy trinity of...
Do it for grandma.
At least it's not as bad as Death. At least it's not as bad as Death Battle, like promoting Blue Apron for like a season or two.
Oh, they still do that. They still do Blue Apron.
But they did the time where they did Blue Apron literally every single episode.
Oh.
Yeah.
Isn't that like a regional thing? Like if I'm not in the States, like I don't have access to Blue Apron, so it's like, what's the point?
What is this?
It probably is.
Blue Apron's like a service where they send you food and you can cook it and prepare it for yourself. So it's fresh produce and whatever, and just here's a recipe.
Specific ingredients for like specific recipes.
I get you. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think they have that here.
I think
there's similar things. I think there's like equivalents, but
I don't think it's a bad idea. It's just like that's a very specific thing in the region.
Very niche. Yeah.
So unless they know their demographics specifically, like, oh, this is exactly what we should be sponsored by. Great. Like I was thinking of getting a sponsor from some CBD store in the States, but I'm like, that's very localized, and I'm in Canada, so do most people who watch me from Texas? I don't know, possibly. I'd have to check that because YouTube does not give me stats on location. They just tell me a lot of people come from the States, which is great, but I don't know where. So wouldn't help much people unless they I don't know, ship across the continent. That might cost them a lot of money though. Who knows? Anyway, let's keep going.
Professional website to promote their business or their passion project, whether you're trying to show off your portfolio, gallery, or videos, start a podcast or blog, sell your products, or just host your resume. Squarespace has a variety of award-winning templates to get started, all of which are also designed to work with mobile devices, and a plethora of customizable options to make it personal and unique that's simple to use and navigate. But it's also got a ton of other helpful features like site analytics, members-only and password-protected privacy pages, and finance and marketing tools. So when you're ready,
I might be biased because I have to do hundreds of these websites by now. But I just vomit if I see that design.
Squarespace.com/CellSpex to get 10% off
get
your
a
first
shit out
purchase
my
of a
face.
website.
I know. I've been doing web dev for my career, and it's like, oh, this is so generic. There's so many templates that are all the same. You're like, okay.
Yes, they are all the same. Make a responsive website.
How do you do that?
It's gonna look the same on all.
They're all this. Yeah, exactly. I can make a responsive website from scratch, or I can go to Squarespace or Wix.com or whatever and make generic website thing that everyone else has.
But where's the catch in all of these ads? Because I never used any Wix or Squarespace itself, so I just don't know where's the catch that the website isn't gonna be as performant or isn't gonna have the SEO as well.
I don't know exactly. I do know someone who just made a free website on Wix, and you could sign up for their ecom package, and it's like $50 a month or something like that. I can't remember what it was. Which is that's a bit more than other places like Shopify, which is specifically for ecom. So I could teach anyone within an hour how to make their own website, how to do their own hosting, how to get a cheap DNS, and you could have it for a year for $100 tops every year. And if you really wanted a website to do whatever, it's not hard. Anyway.
Domain. Recently, when I asked my followers to give me examples of their least favorite critical nitpicks for a different thing I was doing, one that came up a lot was disliking how often movies were put down for being unoriginal, or just remotely similar to anything that already exists. So, let's breeze through the completely obvious things. Nothing is original, Joseph Campbell, Hero's Journey, Monomyth, everything is an extension, subversion, update, deconstruction, reboot, or remix of the 7 basic plots, and delivered almost universally in the 3.
I think that's a misnomer. I never believed there were only 7, so unless she specifies which one is a retread, there's probably more than 30 or 20. I mean, depending on what genres you're referring to. So you can say love and revenge are very similar because they're based off the same idea, but then someone might die, and so you want to pursue revenge because someone who loved someone. So a romance becomes a revenge story, and then a revenge story becomes a redemption story, and all this other crap. I don't know. Every story is unique, but there's more than 7 plots, at least in my head. So fine. Anyway, I get what she's trying to say.
Structure, as it's almost like this rising sensation of excitement leading to a climax with a pleasurable resolution is almost biologically programmed into us or something.
Good night, everybody.
In fact, more than a few professionals have stated that the best way to pitch something, or market something, or even recommend something, is to describe it as 2 or more things that already exist. Like Frog Isekai, Grimdark Naruto, post-apocalyptic sociopathic Bill Nye the Science Guy, Necronomicon Harry Potter with better Harry Draco, and the sentiment applies beyond even narrative similarity.
What?
That was hard to follow.
Excuse me, princess.
So she's combining 2 ideas, a show with another show, or idea with another show, to clarify, and that's fine. I have nothing wrong with having Beekman's World crosses Naruto or something like that. I'd be like, that's kind of weird. I guess it could work.
It's just how you can describe existing things, and you go, well, it's kind of like this combined with this.
Exactly.
What he's doing. It's just
I'm not against that. I think that's totally fine.
It's totally fine. I'm just kind of tired of the entire thing. Cause at this point, any kind of new media comes out, and what is it like? Well, it's like this too, but mixed together, and oh, okay.
Yeah.
Can we like get like something that is like above this? That would like maybe just like the closest thing is that the genre is like similar, and that's it. Like
Yeah.
it's action or sci-fi.
Like, look
I'm
at-
kind of missing that.
Look at how would we describe in a simple way Cyberpunk 2077? It's like Fallout 76 meets GTA if it was not finished or something.
It's like bad. It's like, I see, I understand.
It's something along those lines, exactly.
It's like, I see.
And it still hasn't gone
It just
down.
works.
Yeah, it still hasn't gone down in price yet, has it? It's been the same price ever since.
Which one? Fallout 76?
Oh, I don't even know.
Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk, I think it's still 70, 80 bucks or whatever the hell. Like, who the hell's going to buy that?
Oh,
Holy fuck.
really? I might buy one.
I feel like the flaws of the game were overshadowed by the bugs. Like people made the bugs the big thing. And it's like, no. Even if it had no bugs, like it's still kind of disappointing. Like it's not just that it has bugs.
Yeah.
You didn't like the sex in the game?
No. It didn't make
No.
me come in 40 seconds, which that's the measuring stick, that has to live up to, and it didn't meet that.
40 seconds, huh? Not 41?
40 seconds.
40, 41 seconds. Yeah, it's
This game will make you come in 40 seconds. And the fact that you can't even see your dong in the mirror, like as you're, or like in like reflections and shit, you can't walk around naked and look in the reflections.
But
and
well, you
your
see, they haven't
dong,
finished the shader for that.
And
It's
it's
only
like,
gonna
bro,
come in the 2.0.
Yeah, I
is the
can't
point
really go
of being
into
able
the
to
vagina.
customize my fucking ginormous schlong if I can't fucking see it in the reflection of my shiny sci-fi car, dude? What is the fucking point of this game?
So that you are better immersed in it, I guess?
I
I
do.
want to see my fucking schlong, bro. Just let
I don't
me
even
see
like
it.
looking at myself naked.
I do remember they
I
talked
want
about.
to know the option is there, okay? I just want to know that I can if I want to.
I do remember they talked about the nails. You could customize your nails for whatever reason, and the paint on the
Of
nails.
all things.
And I was like, that's cool, but
Like-
I mean, is
I
that
want to have a fucking laser penis, okay? I want to be able to shoot fucking laser beams from my fucking cyborg penis, okay?
Laser rainbow penis.
Yeah.
I want to be able to drill in.
I want to have all the different attachments, I want to have a fucking grenade launcher, like that. It just launches my grenade testicles, it's
At 3 speeds.
yeah, like it hot shot, It's like fucking Just Dread, where he's like,
I want the electrified condom.
yeah. Like I'm just like, come on, man.
wasn't the a patch supposed to come out?
The
last-
condom will get in the way.
Yeah.
I thought a patch was supposed to
I
come
want. I
out.
want to be able to install extra penises in random places.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. 5, 6 women at one time? Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. They promise all this customization and shit, and it's just like, oh. I wanted to actually be a cyborg. I wanted them to be interesting things you could do with being a
cyborg
cyborg.
penis?
Yeah, fucking cyborg penis, bro. That's I want. Yeah, that's what I want. That's what I want out of this
Balls
game.
of
is just
steel.
deliver, man. Balls of steel. Balls of titanium, bro.
Well, you know what?
Balls
I
of
never
fucking
asked for this.
adamantium.
Vibranium.
Fucking vibranium balls.
Wakanda forever, know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Gatling action schlong. Grand Theft Schlong. Grand Theft Auto Schlong. An auto schlong.
Remastered for the 5th time.
Is this a manual or automatic schlong?
Augmented Sean.
No, I like to drive the stick. You know what I'm saying? I like to. Like you
I
fucking
can't handle a stick.
you fucking use it to shift gears and you run faster.
How do you park?
Oh my god. Yeah, you have to sit down. You have to put it in the park. Oh, bro.
The things we could have had.
Moving on.
We could have. It could have been so great. This is what they took from us.
Alas, there's no amazing genitalia options as we thought.
One penis at a time.
Penis that makes you fly.
All right, let's keep going.
Finally.
To visual styles. Remember that person that made a big stink about the CalArts designs and complained that every animated series today looked the same? One, they may share a face shape when it comes to their protagonists and almost no one else, but very different in visual aesthetics overall. And two, you can point out similarities in design for every...
I disagree.
This is a stretch. Saying
stretch.
that The Simpsons and Rugrats are basically the same style. Like, that's kind of a stretch. And also,
there isn't enough for this.
It doesn't annoy when people lump in Gumball, because, like, if you actually watch Gumball, like, it's like insane, like the amount of like different styles, even like in that show, you know, where they have like a fucking upside down chin as a character, you know, like a live action chin. You know, a fucking one of them's a peanut. You know, there's one of them's a piece of fucking bread, like a literal like a PNG of bread. You know, and it's like,
how is Samurai Jack similar to any of these other shows?
It's just because it's angular,
geometric.
Yeah, it's just like I guess they have that weird like. You can see with Dexter and Timmy Turner where they sort of have the same sort of like the way the mouth is done, where it's sort of like the nose going into the top lip.
Yeah.
But it's like, I just think this is it's not the same as the bean mouth thing.
But more like, I don't even get like what is geometric about, because like even Steven's head or like any of those, it's just like a ellipse, like two ellipses placed on each other.
I would not even compare Animaniacs to The Simpsons to Ren and Stimpy.
That's the one I don't get.
Like that, the whole '90s era does not even make sense to me. Like that, it's so different. There was so much.
The '90s era was probably the most diverse in terms of like designs.
That was like gargoyles and Batman and all kinds. Like that's.
Oh yeah.
There's so much.
They spent so much time on just the character design alone to just like stand out.
Is the not original just only towards just animation, or?
I mean, if you look at the history of the Batman animated series, like Bruce Timm almost quite literally pulled the art style for that almost out of his ass. Pretty much.
I mean, that's when we had Reboot from Mainframe Productions and all the other 3D stuff started coming in. So I don't even think that's a proper way of categorizing anything from the 90s or 80s, just because everything was...
Spider-Man was different.
Spider-Man, the X-Men, everything was different. Yeah, I wouldn't say they're similar. They had maybe the storylines were similar as a result of... I think they had a crossover once. I can't recall if they did that once, but...
A couple times.
Yeah, so similar art styles, similar animators, similar keyframers. Yeah, sure, okay, but... There's so many shows. There were so many animations. I wouldn't characterize the 90s as just Batman or just Marvel or just 3D. There was anime that came up. Sailor Moon was getting popular. It was all kinds of animation in the 90s.
And need we mention Dragon Ball?
Oh yeah, Toriyama's. I mean, forget about it. Toriyama was inspiring people since the 70s. So
well, Dragon Ball Z specifically was the cornerstone of the 90s,
right?
In a certain way.
I would go so far as to say late 80s was when we got the Dragon Quest or Dragon Warrior series on Nintendo.
Roughly.
Early 80s was the first one.
Mid to late 80s is where it got the ball rolling.
Yeah, and that's where Toriyama came in, and the style popped up a little more than just generic 8-bit graphics.
And then half a decade later, Chrono Trigger.
Oh yeah, that's a whole other ballgame. I mean, you're talking about the end of a cycle of the Super Nintendo and RPGs with Square, and then they got bought out by Enix, and all these other things started happening. Yeah, I can't.
Well, the end of it was Final Fantasy VI.
Yes. Oh, geez, there's so many great memories in the 90s. Jeez. Anyway, I would not even think of the 90s as just those four things in my head. There's so many other things to remember, and you can say there are similarities, sure, but that's so specific. That is just one.
Yeah, I mean, it's just there's so many. Even I don't even agree that like the examples that are shown are really similar to each other. You know, I mean, at least like I can kind of see a similar look to like the ones that for the 80s, and kind of see how they're kind of similar. But even the ones that are selected there is just a bizarre choice because they don't really look that similar. If you were to compare like Rugrats with other Klasky Chupo things, that would make more sense. Like they are like what does he call it? Rugrats and Wild Thornberrys. Like their style is obviously like very similar and like very you can sort
and those two had a crossover as well.
Right, exactly, yeah, but they're made by the same people, the same company, everything.
I know. I'm just saying. I know. I'm just saying that one makes sense because they're made by the same people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Also, side note before we move on, you guys mentioned the Spider-Man animated series. To this day, I think that's the only one that's ever made an attempt at a Secret Wars animated adaptation.
Oh, really?
Oh, the 90s Spider-Man cartoon is this?
Yep, that's the only one that's ever made any kind of adaptation of it. And actually managed to retain the plot point of Doom stealing the Beyonder's powers.
Oh.
And made it work. They did a lot of stuff from the original story and did it well, actually.
God, I never...
The 90s was amazing for animation and storytelling and adaptations and just fun gaming, movies, TV, cartoon. Like everything was just experimental and fun and crazy and little higher tech. Internet just started up. Everything was just cool. It was just awesome.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like that Spider-Man cartoon just became a general, like Marvel in general, like cartoon. Like pretty much, it just kind of became like we're just gonna take from like everywhere. It's not just like Spider-Man stories. We're just gonna put in as many of the Marvel characters as we can get into this.
Yeah.
All right, here is Francis Ford Coppola. People make excuses for CalArts that is less expensive and allows focus for the writing, as if more expensive animation in the past didn't have average writing that was superior to what we have now. Can't stand the 30-year-olds who watch these awful cartoons. Oh. Yeah, I can't speak. I can't speak for the 2010s. I just can't. I don't know what to say.
Well, at least the ones shown here in like the diagram, it's like they're all good, to varying degrees, but they're all good.
I think Gumball is probably my favorite one out of those. Funny.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right, let's keep going.
Decade of animation based on trends and technology at the time. Same complaints at anime too. Yeah, Dragon Ball, Ghibli, Shinkai,
and with the
Ghost
anime.
Stories. Yeah, they're basically all the same thing. And that's true for live action stuff. Every decade has similar styles, similar looks, similar formulas, similar fashions. And in fact, if you were
why do you think WandaVision made fun of all of them?
I mean, if things are made at the same time and they're set at the same time, people dress in a similar way. I don't think that's what people are talking about when they're saying that something's not original as a complaint. I think, like, when it comes up as a complaint, I think it's mostly that it's something we've seen before and it's worse. Like, and it's worse than the thing that existed already, you know? So it's like, well, that's the complaint. When it's like, what is the point of watching this and not the better original thing or the better, like, predating thing, you know? I think that's when it comes up, you know.
Yeah, when we look at things we like and know we are good, we say, well, it's not as good as what I watched like DS9 is much better than Voyager for whatever reason. It's like, okay, well, that's strange because I like Voyager better because you're on a ship and you're going places and everything's different. It's like, yeah, but it's not as interesting. There's not as interesting characters. There's not enough plots that are fascinating to me for what happens to the characters. There's more of a direction with DS9. There's more of a focus. And it's still Star Trek. You're still the same universe, same science and technology.
The same lore and continuity.
Right, but you look at the storytelling scripts, like, oh, these are much better. And again, Star Trek has had problems always with its first seasons. It's always sort of, oh, this is off and iffy. We're not sure what they're doing, and it's always been that way. So
really, I didn't know that.
Every Star Trek.
That yes. Well, then again, for me, it's like the impact of that trend started to like go further down with DS9 and Voyager both. It's like it's still like low bar, but they at least they know more what they're doing at the start, kinda. At least that's my take on it.
I've only seen so far the first season of the original series, so I don't know. That's all.
Yeah, the first season of TOS was pretty good, I would say. Like much better than TNG. Oh god.
Yeah, like
for the original series, they pretty much knew exactly what they wanted to do from the get-go, if I'm not mistaken.
Did they?
The first
they
show,
kept, like, changing
at least enough to have the idea that they wanted to do like set, and then everything else that added on to it, kind of, you know.
Oh yeah, you could say that.
At least the core idea they had, like dead set. They were dead set on it.
I remember the pilot was a big deal that Roddenberry and everyone was talking about because they didn't like the guy with the ears, they didn't like the captain, they didn't like all these things, and it's all by committee that they have to listen to these feedback to whoever's funding this thing. So there was some things that Roddenberry was like, okay, we could change this and that, but other than that, he was like, no, we're sticking with the formula, we're doing my way, and it was okay. So if you ever see the first episode, which is interesting.
Like the unreleased one, or like
the old pilot with Captain Pike, right?
Right. Yeah. That
right.
The cage, yeah.
That was.
They kind of
the cage.
Used the footage for that later, didn't they? They used it.
Yeah, the manager.
I think.
Kind of reused.
Yes.
It was a two-parter.
Yeah.
It was interesting. I mean, this is like, oh, this is proto Star Trek, and then to take that idea and to say, what do we do next? And that when you look at Enterprise, the concept of pre-Kirk and pre-McCoy and Spock, like what would the Federation have looked like? Or what was the formation of the Federation? What were humans trying to do? How did the Vulcans treat us? What was the relationship with everyone else? Like that's a pretty interesting concept. I think the ideas of going back in time and talking about pre-everything is a great idea. And the execution then becomes a problem because the technology is way different. You have to respect the past, what happened in the 60s, yet you have to do something that looks modern enough so it looks believable. So you had all these like stuff that was all inside the console, was never projected very well. You had small little rooms, little doors, like everything was just tight. They didn't have shields yet, they didn't have phasers yet. All these things they had to invent to make you believe that, oh yeah, they don't have the stuff that we know, so they have to invent it or figure it out. So I like those ideas. And we sort of got that with Mass Effect, with the DLC for Citadel. They go into the vault, and there's all those old stuff and old guns and this and that. It's like, that's kind of cool. But we really actually wanted a precursor to all of that. We wanted was it the Dawn? What's the call of the war? I can't remember the name of the war. The
First Contact War.
First Contact War with the Turians? Yeah, that's what I wanted to see. That would have been interesting, but we got...
Well, a certain detail that they were still on like modern day firearms during that conflict, weren't they?
Really?
The Earth forces?
Wow.
Yeah. What a change.
Interesting.
All that stuff about the First Contact War just makes me think of Babylon 5. Like it's
kinda, you know,
similar idea where it's like there was this big war that they had on First Contact. Yeah.
I remember that they showed the flashback of Sheridan, I believe, fighting the Minbari. That was neat with nuclear bombs. Like, whoa. All right.
I've never watched Babylon 5. I'll have to check it out at some point.
It is I always say it's the best science fiction show on TV. So
Yeah.
All I know about is that
Really?
DS9 was. All I remember about is that DS9 got compared to it when it started out.
Yeah, I've heard that they're similar. I
Yeah.
haven't seen it yet though, but I've
That's
seen
pretty much
about
all I
it.
know about Babylon 5.
it is worth watching, I would say. Anyway.
I'll check it out.
Let's keep going. Alex Halo. Nope, each anime studio has their own art style. Yeah, it depends on who they hire. Even if it's the same studio, they might even hire different artists.
It depends on the anime, and it depends on. I mean, if you look at like One Piece, there's no like, it's like that's One Piece. Like there's no like ambiguity there of like, it just looks like regular anime. Like no, it looks like One Piece.
True. Yep.
Yeah, or
And
like
it's like-
Dragon Ball. Oh,
Right, yeah, and like
What?
okay, that is like that's Toriyama.
JoJo.
And even like like JoJo, or even like Toriko has a pretty unique art style as well.
it
And
does.
but there is sort of a general like anime design where it's like this is just generic anime style, and that's just not their focus. It's not their focus is having really unique looking art style. There's like we're just gonna have a relatively generic art style and then just do some cool stuff with the story, hopefully.
Yeah, it comes down to the original author and the mangaka that they had to draw things, and whether they maintain that, which they usually do, because why would they change the comic that does everything for you? It's a keyframe for you. It's all.
I mean, then you get stuff like Ping Pong, Ping Pong the animation, where it's just what is happening. Or like
that is
Barbie,
so wild. Yeah.
Whereas like what is okay? I mean, you could do that, I guess. I think like also like anime studios like I think like Trigger has a very like what do you call it? Like a style where it's like this is a Trigger show. Like this is like that studio. Like you can sort of
with stuff done by Trigger, you can tell right off the bat that they did it.
Exactly. Like you're like this is a Trigger show, right? You don't even need to see. You're like okay.
Fun fact: Trigger actually did the animation for an episode of Steven Universe. To go back to that.
Man.
Oh boy.
I think an anime studio did an episode of or like a fight scene or something from like Gumball, where it was like anime style.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
There was
yeah.
many
Yes,
episodes.
yes, they did. I
That
would
was
not be
funny.
surprised if it was Toei, because it looks a lot like a Toei thing.
Yeah. It was like the.
But anyway.
moms. That was
Yes,
good.
yes.
That was a good episode.
All right, let's move on.
Here's one more. Francis Ford Coppola again. For anyone not hip to Steven Universe, there's a scene in which Steven uses his gay rock powers to transform into his
Isn't
mom
that every episode?
and have sex with his
What?
dad.
Oh yeah, it's fucking.
That is the little.
Yeah,
that is
They,
just we do not speak of that.
But isn't he like?
The more you think
Yeah.
about it, the more
But
you're
isn't
gonna
he
want to
kind
turn
of
away. It's like let's move
The
on.
more you're gonna turn gay.
But
Yeah,
isn't he
no. The more you don't
Singing-
want to know about it. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yes,
like
though,
let's
I
move
thought
on.
he was
It is,
his mom.
it is,
I thought
it
he-
is.
I thought. Isn't that kind of? I thought he kind of was his mom.
Yes, he is.
I'm understanding this right,
Wait,
right?
Steven
like,
is his mom?
like she like
In a way,
right?
yeah, because
Oh,
he didn't.
dude.
you know what I
he
mean?
inher-
You've seen it.
He was born, and then he inherited
her
her
gem,
gem, which is
right?
basic, which is
It's
basically,
her acid,
which is
right.
exactly.
Basically
Show
inverted
trying to justify
Evangelion.
incest?
I think
Not really.
He fuses with his dad, and then but fusing. I think even Rebecca Sugar says it's kind of sensual or something, and it's like, oh, now you've just made it weird. Like,
No, just
Why did you
just
say
think of that one as like family love.
why did you say
Not too
that?
much into it. Just don't.
Family love? Okay.
Family
No, no.
love and everything.
No,
That's all about it now.
Yeah, so I don't think originality is Steven Universe's biggest problem.
no, it's not.
Yeah.
Isn't
What
like
do you come here
every
to do?
episode have
Family
like
love.
reference to some other show or like media?
Not all of them,
I
but
think-
yeah.
They have so many of those.
I think there's a lot of like Sailor Moon references, isn't it? in,
Couple.
Steven Universe.
Really? Oh boy.
And there's also one episode where you can literally see a GameCube and the box for Wind Waker.
Wow, so quirky.
Did they pay royalties to Nintendo? I don't think so.
I don't know. I don't know. It's like Why didn't they just put a melee box there? I don't know.
Good point.
That's the easy target.
Good point.
They got to be retro and edgy. That's how it's done.
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
Phrase you'd create an entirely new medium of expression. Ya hacks. And yet this keeps coming up as a derogatory shorthand to express someone not liking something. And like its cousin, the nitpick, tends to be used as a crutch for people to express their dislike or discredit something by picking at some of the less important details. And because we've already stated that nothing is ultimately purely original...
Okay, I have nothing wrong with nitpicking stuff if you don't like something. So it's like, oh, I don't like this animation, I don't like the way their face looks, or whatever. If you don't like something, it's not a nitpick. It's a big enough deal for you to go, ugh, this is bad, like Steven Universe or whatever. There are things in certain shows we don't like.
Yeah. I feel like
Did she
calling
say
something...
nothing is... Alright, my bad.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, she has the whole. She's using the whole like nothing is original argument.
Nothing is true. Everything is permitted. Wait, hang on. That's your line.
Uh-huh.
Oh, it's the assassin logo.
Yeah.
So you can't say, I really dislike this thing, even if it's a cosmetic difference or this or that, and you can get hung up on, I don't know, Wolverine wearing yellow or orange in the next season or whatever the case might be. But you have a tolerance level for certain things, especially if you are well-versed in the lore or you think it should be done the way the original book did it or the original comic did it or whatever the case may be. Everyone has their level of sensitivity towards adaptations, for example. Or if you just look at Steven Universe or She-Ra or Thundercats Ho and all these other shows that sort of take away the thing that you liked about the original idea and changed it for not for the better. So these things happen and people get turned off by them. And there's nothing wrong with talking about the art style as a whole, saying this is not for me. So it's not a nitpick.
I think calling something a nitpick is kind of like, well, I don't care about that. It's like, well, okay, but I do. You know, it's like,
yeah, good. Well, good job. You have your own opinion.
Okay, well, you don't care about it, but I do, or that kind of thing. So
if an entire show is drawn a certain way, that's not a nitpick. That's an overall quality vibe of the style and motif. It's not like, it's a little thing. No, it's the whole thing. It's the visual thing. When I open my eyes, I am in pain. I don't want to see that stuff.
Hence the name animation, right?
Animation would be nice, but it has to be well animated with well keyframed and other things with timing, with voice act. All these things make animations are very tough to do. So cheesing it with those beanie little faces and mouths is like, okay, well, easy way outs, I guess. A lot of people don't like that style. Anyway. Francis Board Coppola again. Steven Universe's problem could be fixed if he's introduced to Xbox Live voice chat and he becomes based. Also, good lord, this woman's voice is like sandpaper.
You know what? That would have changed the show drastically.
I mean, I don't mind listening to her. She's okay. She doesn't hurt my head too much.
Yeah, this is nothing. Like we have listened to like much worse.
Yeah.
We understand what she's saying. Like she doesn't like have the audio volume overly high, so she knows how to edit videos. So I think that's like a plus, definitely.
Right.
Yeah, it's a good brainwashing.
You're just nitpicking, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not that difficult to point at a handful of films it reminds you of and go, there, that's why it sucks. You've all heard this before. Frozen is basically Tangled. Frozen is basically Lion King.
Who says this?
Who said that?
Who says this?
Nobody says it.
Frozen is not the... What?
I've never heard.
The story of Frozen.
You know who's actually said that Frozen is like Lion King? If I remember correctly, Confused Matthew did actually say that at one point. I think.
Yeah, but he has it in his name that he's confused, so like we can't disregard
I'm fucking
him.
confused. How the... but the one about Tangled is just like, what? Huh? That's not. No.
How's it similar? Because they sing songs.
Not even.
Frozen
Look, I say,
is more like Metal Gear Solid, really, because they have like a
What?
relationship. What is that?
I don't. Okay.
She basically has the codes to the nukes. You know, she basically.
Yeah, she's always saying brother. I mean sister, or whatever the hell she says.
Why are we here?
Also,
You wanna make
this
snowman?
also Frozen being kind of like Tangled. It's like there's also the fact that they're literally in the same universe. I'm not even joking.
This is
That's
just
the
like
same
my
universe?
Japanese
How?
animes.
Wow, Frozen. I mean, what would you even compare it to? What would even be like a similar story? I'm trying to think. Like what?
Shit.
It's the furthest thing from the original Snow Queen.
Yeah, like what is the actual story? The story is like, oh well, I'm too powerful to be left alive. It's like, no, she's too powerful to be left alive. But what is it? She's like, oh, I've got powers. I don't want to hurt people. I'm gonna go away. No, don't.
Okay.
Oh, okay. That's basically the story of Frozen.
Okay, bye bye.
Is there? I mean, that's pretty much it, right? I mean, it's like, oh, I'm sad because I'm gonna hurt people, and then she goes away. And
My
then,
sister
Kinda, yeah.
died. Oh no.
Oh
Don't
no!
hurt
Except not really, because it's Disney.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, okay. I guess I'll not go away. It's like, oh, okay.
Okay.
Also
In
Hans is
Russian, that's also the other thing. They're Eastern European-ish Russian people, all speaking perfect English.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, that too.
like, is there any other story where there's like, oh, there's a character that's really powerful, and they just sort of go away and vibe for a while and come back?
I don't know.
A Star Wars sequel trilogy.
No,
Right.
we must never speak of it again. Only then will
Halo.
it disappear into the ether. Well, before we move on, I seriously hope like the new shit for Star Wars that's coming out erases the sequel trilogy, like they're
Not gonna
saying.
lie. Yeah, not gonna lie. Tangled is so much better than Frozen.
Yeah.
Don't know if this is a hot
It
take,
is.
but
Yeah, it is. It is.
Tangled is just better.
There's no
Like,
doubt
the
about it.
story is so much better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Here is
To be
You
honest,
wanna
you ever
sing.
think like she could make like an invincible army of like, because she could like keep like healing her army and stuff, like, and she can still do it because she can still use her like tears, so she could like
Yeah.
store up her magical healing tears and have like an invincible
Yeah, but
army.
yeah, but
to take
remember,
over the war.
yeah, but remember, it's Disney.
And it's
I
like
wonder if it's
her
only
with her
limited to
invincible, her army that she can just infinitely heal versus like Elsa and a whole load of like fucking snow army, and she's like,
Yeah,
it's like
but it's
Elsa
Dis- yeah, but
versus
remember,
Elsa
it's
Rapunzel.
but remember, it's Disney, and on top of that, woke Disney.
That'd be
So
pretty funny.
no,
Someone write
Hopefully we'll get a
Don't write that
Tangled
fanfic.
reboot with
maybe,
Black.
maybe if they had done that for Kingdom Hearts 3, I'd be hyped. but
Although in
no.
the cartoon, she gets her hair back. So I know spoilers for the cartoon.
Oh, who the hell cares?
She gets her hair back in the series.
It's all about money anyway. Who the hell cares? They don't. Why should we?
All right, here is Joe Crazy. Trigger animated a portion of a Gumball episode, not Steven Universe. Steven Universe just had hired a different guest animator from Japan to do a musical portion in an episode, and the jump in quality shows. Oh, that explains.
No, but I think the person that did help with the Steven episode was, I think they were from Trigger, from what I researched, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let's go.
Basically Avatar. Raya is basically Avatar. Inside Out is basically Osmosis Joan in this one thing called Herman's Head that literally
Okay.
Herman's.
I more compared to you. I guess you probably don't know about the Beano, right?
Not once have I heard anyone compare Inside Out,
Yeah.
Osmosis Jones, and Herman's Head at all.
They don't even
Not
know
at
about
all.
those movies.
You guys don't know. You guys don't know the Beano though, right? Like you're not familiar with the Beano, the comic, the Beano. Because there's a comic strip in that called the Numbskulls, which is all of these characters that are like inside this like character's head, and I think it's like the eyelids are like there's like characters that go into the eyes and like sleep, and the eyelids are like the sleeping bags, and then when they go to sleep, that's when the eyes are that's the bags under the eyes. And it's like, I see. So the reason he has bags under his eyes is because the characters in his head are sleeping. But it's that's what I related to. When I first saw it, I was like, oh, it's like that. It's like that thing from the Beano.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really nobody heard of. Well, guess what, hack jobs? I can play this game too. Avatar introduces us to its fantasy world by emphasizing its map at the beginning. Lord of the Rings much? It has the word last in the title.
That's pretty stupid. Okay, that's
That
really...
is the stupidest thing ever. And it only lasts for like 5 seconds, too.
A show starts off with a map. Wow.
I can like name like maybe there's like 10 shows that start with a map.
Okay, like The Last Emperor. It's gonna be like The Last Jedi.
Yeah, I remember watching Three Houses. The intro has a map at the start. Suikoden has a map at the start. Even the intro of before you start the game has a map at the start.
I feel like that just makes sense for any high fantasy thing where it's a completely
with
different
war.
world.
Yeah, we have war battles and all kinds of armies moving around. Yeah, you're going to show a map. Of course, you're going to show a map.
Yeah, it just makes sense. Like you want to know where everything is and what's going on. I feel like if you're gonna have any kind of thing where it's not taking place on Earth and it's taking place in a completely made up world, you want to know where everything is. You want to have a sense of like where places are relative to other places.
I've seen a few mangas do that, but not too many because it's kind of the visual story is already working for you, so they don't need to.
What was the one? I think Attack on Titan probably has like a map, right? It has like a map for it's like
the map of the city, right?
What's the one? Made in Abyss. That's what I was thinking of. It has a sort of a map as well for like the Abyss.
Indiana Jones.
They have all kinds of maps.
I really like it's one of the Muppet movies where they travel by map and it just shows the montage of the thing like moving across the map. It's like, how are we going to get there so fast? Well, you see, we're just going to travel by map, and then it cuts to the montage of like the sort of plane drawing or whatever, like moving like around the map across, like on the dotted line or whatever.
Last Unicorn and an F-ton of other movies and books much? Second act ends with a devastating loss? Empire Strikes Back much? Its setting is a unique Asian aesthetic fantasy world? 12 Kingdoms much? Elemental powers? Captain Planet much? Chosen One? One-dimensional villain? Protagonist? There, I have proven that Avatar is a hack job.
It has a protagonist. That's quite funny.
Okay.
It has a protagonist.
As opposed to the antagonist?
I mean, no, it's just having a protagonist at all is a cliche.
Just having a protagonist.
Got him. But, I mean, I know he's being facetious, but it's like, I mean, it just seems kind of disingenuous. Like, that's not what people mean when they say, like...
It's just, like, kind of proving that, like, she has no idea, like, about these arguments.
I mean, it's supposed to be an argument ad absurdum, is, like, the idea. But I just think it just seems bad faith to me.
Right.
It is.
I like to compare Final Fantasy 6 to 7, and I know that 7 and 6 are totally different games, but the premise and the idea are so similar. I always say, well, 7 is just X with more stuff. And it's like, yeah, it is. It's more refined, more budget, more chapters, more focus on characters, etc. Like, yeah, you can make all these silly, quick statements about summarizing what it is to play 7 as opposed to 6. But you could say the same with 4 to 5, I think. They're very similar in feeling.
Did the same thing with Star Wars, New Hope and Force Awakens. It's basically the same thing.
Well, I mean, they're slightly different when you're comparing the Final Fantasy series to a movie series. But yeah, you can do with a lot of things, and we do it so it's easier to explain, and then we start connecting the dots. Be like, okay, yeah, it is different here and there, but the premise makes me feel like I'm still playing an epic Final Fantasy VII game. Happens to be Steamworks, happens to be Magic, happens to have Evil Empire, organization, whatever, and it's just for a different media, for the PlayStation as opposed to the Super Nintendo, for a different audience instead of just Japan or whatever the case was be when you talk about from 6 to 3 or the translation team. So there's lots of differences. There's lots of nuance, and that's the beauty of it. That's why you play the games, to find out all the details of the story. But you still go, oh yeah, no, the premise is ultimately the same. There's some world in peril, and a ragtag group of people to run around with swords and magic, stopping the big crazy empire from destroying everything.
As someone said, fucking, the inheritance cycle, like the Aragon books.
Okay.
Someone said that those are basically Star Wars.
Really?
Because it's a farm boy going up against, who discovers he has magical powers and then goes up against an emperor who also has the same powers, basically.
Huh.
And it's all about taking down an empire.
Well, this is
kind of like, that seems kind of reductive.
This is what I would say when I was studying creative writing, because when we read fantasy books, the problem with fantasy authors, they're all very similar. They all have very, very similar tropes, and they don't do enough with them to make them unique, because they want to tell, because they like elves, they like dwarves, they like magics and bows and arrows and all. They like it. It's fine. And I see nothing wrong with talking about or writing about what you like. But for the person who's not into it, who's just sort of like learning, and you're like, oh, it's another story with vampires and zombies and swords and shields. You're like, oh, geez. Like, it's not enough for some people. And everyone has their tolerance level. Everyone has their saturation point where they go, oh, that's too, I can't read anymore about, people becoming enthralled with the vampire seductress controlling all my friends, and what do I do? And it takes too much out of my time. Like, okay, I can't read another one. We get another story going, please, to read from, because it's too much on my brain. I just can't. It's like eating like chocolate cake. Oh, I love chocolate cake. Let's do it for 3 months. Like, no, I can't do it. I'm gonna get sick of it. So it would be nice to have some uniqueness here and there, like a palate cleanser, something slice of life, something comedic, something funny, like something aside from dark drama and ghosts and the undead. Like, oh yeah, okay. So
no, you can't have it. You hack job.
Yeah, it's too much. You can't consume too much. You'll get sick over it. Doesn't matter if it's food or media. Same idea. All right.
Get fat.
You will get fat. You'll get sick and fat. Yeah, it's not good for you. Great Scott just dropped in, and our argument is maps. Good game. Yeah, it's pretty weak. Anyway.
Job and error is worthless. This is not to insinuate that people are not allowed to criticize Raya or that there are not problems with Raya. I have made my own video and made my own case about it. Just, if you have issues, actually talk about what those issues are. Don't just list similarities to Avatar as though that explains it. It is just lazy criticism, especially since a lot of it's...
Okay, so maybe she's talking about people in her comments, because usually when we speak about things we like or dislike, we have very good details as well as the summary as well. So we say Babylon 5 is like a derivative of Deep Space Nine but with better writing. You're like, what does that mean? Like, oh, well, I'll talk about this episode, I'll talk about this character, this plot line, this scenario, and then you go on and on and on about details, because Babylon 5, for what it was worth, was a relatively good budgeted story or a good budgeted production with a focus on storytelling. So the animation's not top tier. The sets are not top tier. All the things are sort of mediocre, but the writing is up there. So the actors really carry the story, as opposed to watching Star Trek where everything's polished. Everything's up there. Everything's high-end stuff. So when you compare to DS9, you say, well, wait a second, DS9 got really good later on. You're right, it did. But it didn't start that way. And the difference between the two, I always say, is the main plot. In Babylon 5, the main plot always was going on a one chart direction. It was always one way it was going. Whereas with DS9, with Generation, with Voyager, it was episodic in nature. There was a plot, and there was another plot, and sometimes they had the Year of Hell, and that was kind of cool, and they jumped around, but it was mostly episodic storytelling. And only a few cases of the first season of Babylon 5 did they have episodic storytelling, but every other, pretty much every show after the second season was focused on a plot of the main characters and what they were doing. And that's why you had so many characters doing so many things, and the characters that end up taking the show in terms of attention were Londo and Jakar. They became the focus, even though they were not the main plot. They were just interesting. They were so interesting. Like, well, I want to know what happened to Jakar. Did he die? Did he kill him? Like what? Like this, you want to watch more as a result of the acting and the storylines of these characters because they're so compelling. And you can't say the same for the majority of DS9 until you get to the last season or the last few episodes, because then they actually have a plot line that follows multiple episodes. And that's one of the problems with Star Trek in terms of focus, of not having a fully planned out series, or season rather. And Babylon 5 planned the entire series out. Not in detail, just he knew where he was going with it. Alrighty, let's go.
Similarity are pretty surface level. This is only reestablishing the obvious fact that nothing is purely original or purely unoriginal. But like all of the cool binaries, there's a spectrum in the middle. We're all familiar with the trend that when something even mildly fresh becomes a big hit, that every major studio tries to copy it. But even that isn't a justified reason to completely write something off. Just because Pixar was the first one to make a CGI film didn't mean that no one else was allowed to try it themselves, or that no one else could do it well. But yes, this certainly results in a lot of studio making
people do that?
cheap imitations, but then that's the actual criticism.
Like, that's a
mean-
bizarre... Like, who's... It's like... There can only be one thing in any medium, because that's it. You've completed the medium.
Who
There could be no
complained
more
that
things in that medium.
couldn't do another
it just seems
CGI
like-
film?
It just seems like this is a false comparison to what people mean when they say, like, oh, this is unoriginal.
Yeah.
You know? Like, in regards to, like, fucking Hunger Games. I mean, Hunger Games is already... Like, the concept isn't original per se. I mean, the author claims to never have heard of or read Battle Royale, but I mean,
Oh yeah.
X to doubt, you know. But in the end, it is a different thing. Like, it's not just Battle Royale. I mean, obviously, it's not like the exact same thing. And now there's almost sort of a genre of it, you know. But there's almost like so many Battle Royale type stories. That it's like, oh, this is just a thing. No, you know, this isn't just copying that or any one specific story. It's, oh, this is just a genre where there's so many stories that are just Battle Royale things. I think one of the things that was derivative that seemed to be sort of a knockoff of Hunger Games, I remember, was I think the Divergent series, like the books and the movies. I actually read the books because I just read a lot of like random YA things, and it was definitely like, oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
This is sort of a copy of a copy at this point. This is sort of
Oh,
a
dang.
badly. It's like Hunger Games is like it's gone through so much compression from being shared like multiple times, like an image like that's like gone through like that's been shared like multiple times, and like it's just just degraded like more and more. And this is like
Yeah.
the Divergent is just the one that's just been copied over and over again. So when it's just all blurry and it's like, oh god, I think we've lost some information in the compression here.
It is always hard to find a good post-apocalyptic story or whatever concept, like the aftermath of something like a war or nuclear fire or something that happened to the environment, and there are some popular ones like the Hunger Games and this and that, but there's no real outlier I could think of, aside from maybe Margaret Atwood's stuff, but that's just because she's a bigger name, and she just happened to write a story that got turned into one of her TV series or whatever Netflix series it is. So they tend to focus on these famous people like Neil Gaiman and turn this stuff into series now. So I don't know. It's a very specific genre when you're talking about post-apocalyptic or idealized worlds or the opposite thereof. So it's hard to find like, oh, this is like everything's controlled by robots, or Ergo Proxy comes to mind when I think of post-apocalyptic and all the episodic storytelling of what could it be like? What would a dome look like? What would this dome look like? Why are there all these domes? What does it mean? How would you survive? And that this brings me back to Fallout, because Fallout did the same concept of vaults, of sociological experimentation with, or engineering with all kinds of, what if we take away all the water chips? What if we put all this fertilizer in here? What if we do that? Like, there's all these crazy experiments they do to ensure that humanity survives by sacrificing half of them or whatever the case was. So yes, we see similarities all over the place, and that is normal. It's how it's done that matters. Does it work within the medium? Does it express the genre well? Does the trope come out? Were you expecting a different trope? And if not, was that a bad thing? Like, expectations are really high when you know the genre. Yeah. That's when we talk about Star Wars a lot. We say, well, we were expecting really good action fight scenes. We didn't get that. I'm really sorry. Episode 7, 8, and 9 was not impressed with those lightsaber battles at all. In fact, I was
subverting your expectation.
I was livid in certain cases. Like, how did this? Why? How could she do this? So, this is the problem with genre and tropes that you are aware of. That if you don't give that to the audience, you're really going to ruin everyone's day. So, in that regard, a lot of the writing and storytelling has to be similar, or else you're going to piss people off. Anyway.
About the imitation in the visuals or the concept than it is the rushed and the cheap.
We have got your $7. Why should we try something new? We know you'll buy the video. Your money, we will rake it in.
But granted, sometimes the opposite happens.
That's Disney.
Where you could have a lot of the same thing that could, quote, objectively be high quality, but people can still get tired of it. A big reason for why Shrek and Toy Story became big was because people liked seeing something different than just the trends of the Disney Renaissance, even though a lot of movies in the Disney Renaissance were mostly great films.
Okay, that's an interesting argument, because when I think of those films, the Pixar films, the 3D stuff, that is new and different, but the cost to make those were significantly higher than the 2D animation. I'm sure the planning was just as complicated, but...
Yeah, but I don't think the originality of those movies is about the medium. Like, Toy Story and... if you did those, and you did them in, like, the same animation style, they'd still be original types of stories. Like, the idea, the concept of what do toys do when you're not looking, and do they have this secret life? Like, that would be interesting and original, even if it was done in the same style. And the same thing with Shrek. You know, so that I think I think that's more what made them feel fresh than, like, obviously at the time the animation style was a big thing, but that's not why they were successful.
Right.
And if Toy Story wasn't a good movie, then that could have set back computer animation for ages if it wasn't actually a good movie. Like, it might if that didn't do well because the story was just not very good. I think it could have set back computer animation like years before it became popular again.
I agree. That's what happened.
Maybe
exactly.
It should.
Well, it depends. It depends on the cost benefit analysis of what they did to make the thing and what was the payoff. Because we look at Square. This is before they got bought out by Enix. They made The Spirits Within, that movie. That took so long to come out. They spent hundreds of millions of dollars to do the first ever properly done CGI movie with all this other crap. animated hair and all this nonsense. And they blew budgets after budget and took years and years and hired and fired people. And for what? A really dumb movie. A really silly, dumb movie. It wasn't even, like, the script wasn't even worth it. And they just wanted to, they were just animated. We want to make this. We want to make this crazy, over-the-top budget thing because we are awesome at storytelling. Therefore, we should do this CGI thing. And you're like, oh, I would love to see what Square can do because they did Final Fantasy VII. They know CGI. They can totally do this. And they couldn't. They screwed up. They fired their producers so many times. They hired people from Russia whose work ethic were different from the Japanese. And they were hiring people all over the planet just to fit the bill. And they were quitting. They were getting fired all the time because everything was different. Everything was changing so many times. So, and what did we get? Not much. We got a few really good scenes that looked amazing, but other than that, it was not Ghost in the Shell. It was not Blade Runner. It was not some new cutting edge thing. It was just a big giant pile of CGI. And you sat there going, oh, if only they told a good story.
Yeah.
And that made them bankrupt. They had to get bought out by Enix, and now they're called
Jeez.
Square Enix.
It's weird because it's kind of reversed now, where like computer generated animation is easier and cheaper.
Okay, nowadays we have amazing computers to do stuff. Yeah.
But what was I going to say? Yeah, so the thing about the Disney Renaissance, I think it's weird because it has this like, the Disney Renaissance, so stereotypical, right? So the typical Disney Renaissance stuff. But the thing is, like, the Disney Renaissance stuff was a lot more subversive in a sense than people think of. Like, they think of, the Disney Renaissance, that was just a typical formula. The thing is, though, like when you have like characters like, obviously the movie that started it off was the Little Mermaid, right? The thing with that is, if you actually think about it, the character of Ariel is very subversive because she's like going against her father's wishes, and she is proactive as opposed to a character like Snow White, who is just like, someday my prince will come, and I'm just gonna sit here, or compared to like Sleeping Beauty, who isn't even really a character. Like Sleeping Beauty isn't the main character of Sleeping Beauty; she's just a plot device, and even like Cinderella, like what does she actually do? Like she's just there, like she's just the fairy godmother comes to her and just gives her this thing, and what does she actually do to influence the plot? Not that much. But Ariel takes all of the actions in the Little Mermaid, and she's a much different type of character to those previous characters, and like a lot of the characters in the Disney Renaissance are like that, where though they were subversive for their time, for what the Disney formula was at that stage. So it's weird that it's looked back upon as, they just had the stereotypical formula,
While trying to show for just that's fine.
Alrighty, let's keep on going. Wait, we go backwards? What happened here?
I don't know. I didn't touch anything.
I have made my video and made my own cases, and that isn't a justified reason to completely write something off. Just because Pixar was the first one to make a CGI film didn't mean that no one else was allowed to try it themselves, or that no one else could do it well. But yes, this certainly results in a lot of studio making rushed, cheap imitations, but then that's the actual criticism. Less about the imitation in the visuals or the concept than it is the rushed and the cheap.
We have got your $7.
A lot of the same thing that could just the trends of the Disney Renaissance, even though a lot of movies in the Disney Renaissance were mostly great films. Kinda like what's going on now with superhero stuff. Like, a lot of it is great, but it is so easy to get burned out. But that's more related to psychology of trends than critiques of individual films.
Psychology of trends is more to do with getting burnt out? No. That's just...
What does that mean?
That's okay.
I think it means like if you've never seen a superhero movie and you see a superhero movie, it's like, oh wow, this is interesting. If you've seen like 10 superhero movies in the past week, it's not going to be as interesting when you see another superhero movie. You know, even though there's not really anything wrong with that movie necessarily, there could be, but they're not necessarily. But you'll still have that feeling of I don't really want to watch a superhero movie right now.
I think
I've seen it enough.
I think the argument comes from being too much. Like the obvious argument is there's too much of a good thing or too much of a thing, and you see it. Oh, I don't care about it. It could be the best hot dog in the world, but you've been eating hot dogs like every day for the past week.
Right. Yeah. There's nothing. It's not a bad hot dog.
Right.
It's just like
that
kind of one.
That is the simple argument, but I don't think that's what she said. I think what I'm thinking of is that example of the Winter Soldier or whatever, Captain whatever, what's his face, that series that came out.
Black Captain America.
Black Captain America, whatever it's called. Everyone.
TV show, right?
Yes. Was it Netflix?
No,
Disney Plus.
Disney Plus. Okay.
Disney Plus.
So because we've been inundated with Marvel stuff, it's now hitting a lull. We can tell when the quality is not there anymore because we know it so well. We expect a certain level of quality, and when it doesn't hit the mark, we're like, "Whoa, what's this?" So it's not so much that. It's like hot dog, hot dog, hot dog, hot dog. It's hot dog, really bad hot dog. We're like, oh, this is not Marvel. It's got the Marvel label on it, but it's not Marvel. So it's not so much
DC
that.
in disguise.
Well, yeah, like think of The Mandalorian. Like we weren't expecting that to be decent, and it was good for what it was worth. It wasn't amazing, but it was good. And no one was expecting that. That's a good. It's like crap hot dog, crap hot dog, crap hot dog. Consumable good hot dog. Like,
I think it's a lot easier in your mind to just automatically make comparisons when there's something. The more similar an example you have in your mind of something to compare it to, the easier it is to see when it's a bad example of that type of thing. Like if you have more examples that are closer to the thing you're
right. So
it's like, okay, it's easier to say, oh, this is a bad hot dog because I know what a good hot dog is like.
Plus, the argument I think with WandaVision was it came out once a week, so people were not watching it like they used to watch Marvel shows on Netflix because it was all in a bucket, like just tired season you watch within like 2 days straight or something. So apparently that gets you more excited for next week, which is typical of TV. So that is also part of that argument, I would say, but. I think it really has to do with quality, and you expect.
I think weekly releases are a lot of the time better for just natural marketing, just because everyone's at the same stage, like everyone's on the same episode, pretty much. Like you can discuss it as it comes out and not be worried that someone's only watched like 3 episodes and you've watched 5 episodes, and someone so. Whereas if it's coming out weekly, it's sort of, okay, you can have the discussion on that episode.
Right.
Hype for the next episode. And a whole lot more discussion, a little more content made by like YouTubers and stuff.
That reminds me of when Game of Thrones first came out and everyone was like, did you watch it? Like, what was that? Oh.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Everyone was saying that like it's like Lord of the Rings, but with more sex.
Yeah. But like
and
Netflix.
That's why David was.
It's like, yes.
But when Netflix drops a show, they drop the show and then it just disappears from the face of the fucking earth. It's like, big for like a day or like a week maybe tops, and then just nothing. Like you just hear nothing, and it's very hard to get people into it. Whereas if it's ongoing and it's still coming out, it's like there's the motivation to catch up, to be part of the conversation is more because the conversation is still going.
Well, it's with stuff that I'm expecting, like the Castlevania 4th season is coming out next week, and that's 10 episodes, and they're going to release it all at once. Which is crazy because that's a lot of time that I need to dedicate to watch those things. And I would prefer it if it was within a frame of 2 months or 3 months or 4 months, whatever the case is.
And it's not like people don't do that. It's not like people don't binge them, but it just, not too sure about it.
It is interesting to change our habits of watching and consuming media all at once, like it's a giant stuff yourself silly buffet. So... it's intense. It's like, oh my God, Jessica Jones, boom, like, so much. But that's what we got. That's our streaming service has changed our viewing habits. And why the release schedule is like that, I don't know. But hey, that's the new age of of entertainment.
Yeah, I mean, I think even Mandalorian, it managed to sort of overcome some of its mediocrity just by the fact that it was coming out weekly. You know, it managed to generate more hype because it wasn't released all at once. Even though it wasn't an amazing show, it was just the fact of releasing it weekly.
That's an interesting
Tons of
idea.
Speculation of what could happen.
Well, it could also be like the production that like they cannot manage to like release all of them at once.
Yeah, but I just think it's just a good marketing strategy in general.
Definitely.
And it also means that people can hope that it will get better. Like if it's bad, like they can be like, well, there's still like 5 episodes. You know, there's still 5 episodes for it to get good. You know, it can still get better by the end. And because they only have to commit to watching 1 episode at a time, they even when there's like 8 episodes a season and they've already watched 5 episodes, they still feel, well, it's only 1 episode at a time, right? It's only 1 episode at a time. So I mean, man, it's kind of doo-doo now. But you know, I mean, there's still 3 episodes. It can still get good, you know.
I said that like for like Falcon and the Winter Soldier and like even the first episode, I could like smell it that it's gonna be bad. So bad. Like I don't think like any of the Disney Plus shows are above decent.
Apart from Desperate Housewives, that's
Is it on Disney Plus?
Yeah, it's on Disney Plus. Yeah.
Oh my fucking god, man!
Desperate Housewife?
Yeah, Desperate Housewives. Yeah, not to be confused with Real Housewives. That's a different thing.
Oh,
no, that's a completely different thing. Desperate Housewives is like a soap opera. It's like actors and shit. But not actors.
It's the one from mid 2000s.
there's
right?
there's lots of sex, right?
Yeah, there's lots of sex and cheating and murder and shit.
Yeah, milfs.
Just like the modern
like
shows. God
Just like real life.
But in real life, they always say no.
Yeah.
Alrighty, let's go.
But maybe burned out for the time being, and you might come back to it later and enjoy it. Heck, give it 20 years and it'll probably be nostalgic. Then you'll like it, even if it sucks. Certainly some films are a bit more copy and paste than others. I would probably point to that onslaught of Christmas rom-coms that comes out every year.
He is cute.
He sure is.
But he is broke.
No, he isn't.
My mom watches all of these.
He invented
I know.
the internet.
Wow, now I am attracted to
Why?
him.
But that's where we get into genre. That is literally defined as stories that have similar tropes and settings. And from the outside, it can be really easy to point out common similarities within the group, like all slasher horror being derivatives of Halloween, or all shonen anime all being Dragon Ball or Naruto. And again, using it as a basis to explain why the entire genre sucks. Which does tend to happen, especially by people who aren't fans of that particular genre. As though fans of that genre aren't...
I would disagree. I think fans of the genre know exactly what the tropes are, and they say exactly what they are.
Yeah, they definitely know what they are. But there are definitely things where, like, I really like shonen. But I mean, I get if other people don't like it, but there are things where it's like really, really tropey things where I just don't give a fuck, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm here for it, honestly. Like stuff like where it's like literally like power of friendship stuff, you know. Sometimes it can get really obnoxious. I think the time it got really obnoxious was in I think Soul Eater in the anime at least got really obnoxious with power of friendship. But a lot of the time I'm just willing to go, yeah, fuck it. Power of friendship time. I don't care, you know. Even though it's kind of bad, it's kind of like I don't know. I'm just It's the fucking fast food of tropes, you know, for me. A lot of shonen. It's like, this is terrible. This is terrible for me, but I'm feeling it. You know, I'm just.
I want that Egg McMuffin.
I want it. Yeah. I want the fucking triple
of all
burger.
Those similarities, and maybe exactly the reason why they like it, but are also engaged and invested enough in said genre to perceive and appreciate even the subtle differences between them, or identify what makes some of them more interesting than others. Still, it's probably fair to say that what can make a formula feel particularly stale is when a stock formula comes with a lot of other stock details, especially when it includes stock dialogue. For example, a common story trope used in a lot of kids' films is The Liar Revealed, one that I and a lot get very exhausted with, not just because of the amount of times it tends to be used, but because it often comes accompanied with a lot of other very familiar plot beats. Describing something as a liar revealed essentially can give you a gist of what the entire plot is like, and during the course of the film, somebody is going to utter the majority of the following phrases. How could you? I can explain. Listen to me. You lied to me. Just leave. I guess you got what you wanted.
I have the high ground.
At the same time, it can be judging it a little bit too hardly. I dislike this trope, but I noticed that I don't necessarily dislike a lot of the movies that use it. This was, for example, the one really big mark that I applied to Claws as to why I didn't call it my favorite of that year. But
Did you see that movie?
Which movie?
Claws.
The Claws?
Claws?
Klaus. Claws. Did you see it?
Oh, was that on Netflix?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I like the animation style as well. It looks pretty cool. It's sort of it's weird. It's not quite 2D. I think it's got like it's doing
like
some weird
the
things.
Spider-Verse.
Yeah, I mean it's on the screen now. I mean it's like, but it's the footage is-
Isn't it like a 3D animation, but they use shaders to make it like 2D?
It's like that one short film
okay.
that was you know that one I think it was like about like paper planes or something.
Oh, the Disney one, yes.
Yeah,
I know.
I think it's kind of like that.
Yeah.
It's almost like rotoscoped. It's like CG animation, but like rotoscoped over, kind of. I think that's kind of what it is. So yeah, Liar Revealed things like. I guess it does come up a lot. Does that like what do you think of that? Like trope.
It depends on how it's done. It really doesn't matter. Like all these tropes and patterns you probably have seen once before. You're just not aware of it. So when a plot reveal happens or a character reveal happens, it's like, oh, he was the suspect that was most likely to commit the murder or whatever. It's like, oh, okay. So
it was the creepy janitor.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter that it happens. It's how it's done. So whenever you watch a murder mystery, it's the detective that figures it out. So you expect the detective to be the mastermind or the genius to deduce everything. You don't expect the suspect to come forward and say, I'm the murderer. It's like, what? No. That never.
I suppose that's what happens in 7, right? Like what happens in 7, where he's like, oh, by the way, I'm the guy. He just comes in, right? They won't actually solve the thing. He just comes in.
Yeah.
Well,
you can do these things, but it depends on the context of how a reveal takes place.
I think the best Liar Revealed plot is Over the Hedge. I think that's where it peaked. That's where the trope peaked, I think.
Very dramatic.
I don't remember that. Which part are you talking about?
Well, because he's stealing food for the bear.
Right.
He stole from the bear, and he's trying to
Oh, right. Okay.
repay his debt to the bear. I think, and that's the whole point of him doing that was so that he could. The whole point of him getting them in on the plot was so that he could steal food to give to the bear.
Oh, okay, yeah. The raccoon, right?
Yeah.
Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis raccoon. Yeah. Bruce Willis. That's not the first animal Bruce Willis has played in a movie, because I think he voiced the dog in the Rugrats Wild Thornberrys crossover.
Oh, really?
Right.
He also voiced the baby too.
When she, what is it? The main character from Wild Thornberrys, when she's like, because she can talk to animals, and the voice is Bruce Willis.
Oh,
when he's
okay,
talking.
Yeah. I think
the dog is talking.
There was a movie. That was a movie, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Did that have a Lara reveal plot in it? The Rugrats Wild Thornberrys movie?
I don't remember. All right.
Again, that kind of was my point. Plenty of people didn't let that hurt their enjoyment of Klaus. Or rather, more than any of the other animated films that came out that year, they appreciated what Klaus did for the industry more than Pixar winning another Academy Award for an unnecessary spin-off that most people didn't want. Really, this is just a challenge to critics to make different arguments, and I include myself in that. For example, I just saw Arlo the Alligator Boy, which I would call a good movie. It is beautifully animated, its songs are spectacular, the songs with the animation are amazing, it's cute, it's heartwarming, but if I were to explain why it was merely good and not great, my first thought would be to say that I have felt like I've seen this story before. A story of people who feel like weirdos and are ostracized and ridiculed by society, and they find a new family in each other. Now again, it's still a good film, and there's nothing wrong with a film just being good, and the outcast found family trope is both extremely popular and highly relatable, to the point that it's actually a sub-trope in I think most big...
This is why Hunchback of Notre Dame is better, because it's more realistic, where he just doesn't get the girl. Like, it's just like, no, you're fucking ugly. I mean, you're cool though, but you're fucking ugly, bro. Like, there's no like,
girl?
No, I mean, he
Yeah,
does in the fucking sequel, in the fucking straight to video sequel.
Maybe that was the one I'm talking about.
I mean, there's like this blonde girl that he gets with. But in the original movie, Esmeralda goes off with the what's his name, the like captain guy, and it's like, so basically in Hunchback of Notre Dame, it doesn't pull any punches. It's like, nah, bro, you're fucking ugly, and unlike the Beast, you don't have a big fuck off library. You know, you don't have a big library that you can bribe women with.
Yeah, you don't have money.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like,
fuck off.
Beauty and the Beast is you can get the girl even if you look like a monster, as long as you have a massive big fuck off library, and you can be like, yo, hey bitch, check out my library. It's pretty big, right? It's pretty big library, got a lot of girth to this library. You know what I'm saying? Got a lot of pretty wide, pretty tall library. You know what I'm saying?
9 inches long. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty huge library. I'll show you mine if you show me yours.
Take a look at my dictionary.
Yeah. Take a look at my dictionary. Yeah. Come in my thesaurus.
Like an open book.
Oh god.
Franchises. Really, just name a big franchise and it's probably a part of it. So maybe that's the thing. I'm used to seeing that as a storyline alongside a bunch of other stuff going on. That seeing one story that did just a simple, straightforward version of it just felt a little bit underwhelming. Except that it's not just that. There's also the subplot of the two hillbillies trying to capture Arlo to put him in an exhibit. Easily what I thought was the least
from the
funny
Muppets?
and more disposable aspect of the film.
Isn't that like a plot in one of the Muppet movies? Like the Kermit origin story movie. You know what I'm talking about? Where they try to like capture Kermit.
When did that come out?
Yeah, it's like one of the movie where what is it called? What's the movie called? It's like something about Kermit.
Kermit's
but it's
Wanted
like
or something.
What is the movie called?
Was it released in 2010?
No. It's like no. It's from ages ago. I think the one I'm thinking of.
Wow.
It's where it has the song where he's like, "It's not easy being green," in it, and he plays the banjo.
It's not the Christmas
and then
one.
He goes out. And I think there's a part where there's like a frog dissection scene, and he like saves a frog from being dissected in a classroom.
Okay.
But I think it has pretty much this plot in it, pretty much the same like plot line in it, where people are trying to steal him for an exhibit.
But technically be there for climax reasons. The other core of the story is Arlo trying to find his long-lost father in New York City, which does automatically make me think of Elf. That's not a mark against it, because Arlo and Elf are very different movie experiences for like a dozen other reasons. It is probably more accurate to say that I am not emotionally connected to that kind of story as I am on the other part of it. I think I liked the group bonding together more than anything with his dad, except that allows for the Wash the Hurt Away song, which is the best animated segment in the movie, so I can't even gripe about it for that. So sure, story-wise, it's pretty simple, but it makes up for it in so many other ways. And again, it's okay to just be good. It's also totally okay if you're just not into musicals. But as I literally said in the last video, this is also the case with me in constantly calling Illumination boring, where I simplistically said they always make the same movie, which of course is an exaggeration, but as we've stated, multiple studios and creators and genres just have a style where they rely on a lot of familiar patterns, and it just so happens that Illumination's formula is a formula that I very much do not like. However, I could also say that everything made by the creator of Bob's Burgers also has a very consistent rhythm and dialogue style and comedy that I will watch absolutely every single version of.
Give it back now, or I'm gonna eat your eyebrows.
What?
I mean, I'll stab you.
And sure, theoretically, I could break down the patterns of Illumination versus Bob's Burgers and explain why one is better than the other, but for simplicity's sake, Bob's Burgers is just my comfort food. It's just my thing.
Bobby!
Really, that's the major point. Having a reliable formula is part of what makes something comfortable. And for as much as everyone says that they want original things, Hollywood is out of ideas and that's why they do reboots, the fact is that we all gravitate toward things that do feel at least a little familiar, because ultimately the biggest fear of the human brain is the unknown, so we gravitate toward things that we feel like we at least can get a grip on what they're about. And ideally, when seeing something new, they'll hope that it will go in a more interesting direction after it has settled them in with something reliable and familiar, like Invincible, which was basically AU Justice League until The Thing happened. So, I hope you enjoyed this episode of CellSpex reiterates obvious
Literally
things
the
that
first
most people
episode,
know, but
yes.
probably could have used a reminder of, because people on the internet are idiots. Next month, nitpicks and why they suck. Tell me your least favorite hack logic complaints, and I'll see you next time.
Okay.
All right, time to sign up to the Patreon.
Ooh. Name and reviews. Oh boy.
Wow.
Yes.
So
Everything I wanted.
So it comes down to genre and understanding genre and liking what you like. It's like, thanks. That's
I
great.
mean, I don't think it's just. I mean, like with Force Awakens, it's not just that it's a Star Wars movie. It's the fact that it literally has like beat for beat plot points,
Yeah.
and it's worse. You know, it's like it has basically beat for beat recreations of plot points, but also it's worse. You know, so
Let's do the same movie. We'll make it worse.
right. And I think that's where the unoriginal comment comes from, is that, you know, it's just a worse version of this thing that exists. You know, I think Force Awakens. If Force Awakens had been similar in this, basically in the same way and had similar plot points, but it made sense, and it didn't it didn't just force the same plot points with no logic, and the characters were better and stuff. It could have been very similar, but actually a lot more liked, you know. But there you go. I mean,
well, if you're making an argument for genre, you don't have to deal with the issues of detail. You just say, well, I'm expecting a space opera, and I expect spaceships and war and galactic politics, and Star Wars has some of that. And then it goes into what Star Wars is trying to do, which is its own unique thing, which is the story of the Jedi versus the Sith. And that's totally cool. And that's what you come to expect from Star Wars, at least on a surface level. You want other stuff like over-the-top drama and action scenes with lightsabers and space battles and all kinds of other things that you expect, but that's what Star Wars is. That's why you go see it. Yes, you could talk about the individual characters or Samuel L. Jackson. Oh my God, I gotta go see every Samuel L. Jackson movie. But that's the genre argument. It's you expect certain things from a place of business, like a burger joint. You expect burgers. You expect steak burgers. You expect tofu burgers, veggie
Bison
burgers,
burgers.
all kinds of burgers. You expect stuff of that sort, and you expect certain qualities, certain styles, certain cuisine, etc. There's all these subcategories you go into. So if she's making that argument, she went in a very backwards way of going towards it, because she started talking about something is like something else, when that something else is in fact of the same genre. So if you say Final Fantasy 1 is like Final Fantasy 10 or 9, you're like, yeah, it's the same company. It's making the same product in a different light. That's the idea. So of course it's going to be slightly different with the same ideas involved, different expressions. I don't know why I shouldn't start with that, because I don't care if people compare Man of Steel to Superman 2 or 3 or 4, because why not? It's fun to do that. As crazy as those movies are, they're bad on different ways. So go for it. Go crazy. Compare all the plot points and the conflicts that Clark has to go through and all that jazz. This is like low-level criticism, nitpicky. Shenanigans? What would I call this? Oh, geez. It's not even... It's like someone having like stubbing their toe while they're walking. It's like, oh, now I'm fine. You just keep walking. This is the level of complexity and problems that she brought up, at least in my mind. This is something you could deal with in a sentence. So
She made it sound worse than it was.
she made a video out of it, and she made, I don't know how many views again. How much is this? Almost 100,000 from
Literally several views, at least.
whatever
And
she's
still
doing.
share in Patreon.
Yeah, whatever she's doing, she's
Literally
making
some
money.
views.
So good for her.
At least 113 views.
Okay. Oh, here is a Great Scott. Off topic, but I think Berserk is a great counter to her points. Great example of how to subvert tropes and properly pull off a huge plot twist that changes everything and it stands out.
Oh well, it
Couldn't tell
depends really, because it was like a really big move to, well, okay, spoilers, kill more than half of the characters that you know, and make like one of the main characters into the antagonist basically. But the problem with Berserk is like that it's never gonna end.
There's no goal.
A game that keeps playing. It's gonna delay it forever.
Yeah, there's no end game with Berserk. It's just another fantastical element fighting demons.
Yeah, because when it was focusing purely on like the protagonist himself, it was really good. But now there has been like so many subplots that like I have like sometimes like trouble like keeping track of all of them. Like oh yeah, like we have this other character, but like he also made an appearance like in this chapter before. So, but like the guy can like keep track of like all his references. So like I would say like he's like one of the best mangakas. It's like he was still working in the industry, but like goddamn, like his work schedule is fucking crap.
Yeah, we're never going to see the end of it unless he just rushes it because he wants to keep going. And
I mean, I think there are worse. I think the Hunter x Hunter mangaka is worse.
But actually, like, there's like a joke that like the dude, whenever he goes on hiatus, the Hunter x Hunter guy comes back with the chapter. It's some people have theorized that like maybe it's the same guy.
It's the same guy. I mean, you never know. I mean, mangaka never go outside. You never see
There's
them.
only one picture of him.
There's
public.
actually only one mangaka ever.
Yes. Everyone's Toriyama.
Yeah,
that's why all anime and manga looks the same. It's all made by the same
It's
person.
literally the same guy.
oh dear. Here's Space Wolf Blackmane. How's it going? Have you guys seen Invincible? What do you think? Invincible the movie?
No,
Invincible the TV show.
series on Amazon Prime.
On Amazon, recent stuff.
Oh,
Yeah, based on the comic by Robert Kirkman.
I have not, sir.
It was all right.
I've seen it.
There's
It's pretty cool.
Amber is unbearable.
And black. unlike
of course, that's the main reason.
I
But,
think it seems a bit weird because I think the point of the character is to basically be. I'm not sure whether it would be a better comparison to Gwen Stacy or Mary Jane. I think probably Gwen Stacy is it?
Oh,
would be a
wow.
better comparison. But it's basically just the girlfriend character.
Yeah, but like this is like the worst version because like she's like
very
nagging.
obnoxious
She's so.
There's a point where he's like, I don't know if we're going to spoilers here. I think, fuck it. I think we're just going spoilers. We're just going full balls deep.
Go in.
Oh yeah.
But there's a point where he's like, oh yeah, the reason I haven't been able to be around or I've had to leave at bad times is because I'm actually a superhero. And he's like, I actually knew that already. I just wanted you to tell me. It's like, bitch, how the fuck? What kind of ridiculous fucking standard is this?
Also, like this happens like a week or like a day after. Like he was like,
like she's just a bitch for no fucking reason, dude. It makes no fucking sense.
Hey, she deserves an answer.
You know? It makes
She
no
has the
fucking
right
sense.
to nag.
Like, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you trust me? Bro, what the fuck kind of retarded logic is that, bro? Holy shit,
just
you
hate women?
entitled piece of shit. I hate women. I hate minorities. I hate the gays.
Yes.
But I actually quite liked Adam Eve. I liked her whole like, fuck it, I'm just gonna use my powers in a non like combat way, and I'm just gonna, fucking plant food and shit. I'm just gonna make buildings and things and just use my magical. Or like her powers though, they do seem very like OP for what she actually like. It just seems like, what is the actual limit to her powers? It just seems so open ended. So it's like, where's the fucking limit to these powers?
Yeah.
What is stopping her from just like disassembling Omni-Man? Like what is the actual limit? Like why can't
creatively like got her away from Omni-Man? When
it's like, but why? It just seems like her powers, from all that's been explained, it just seems like, bro, why couldn't she just like turn Omni-Man into like a fucking chair? Like it just seems like, what is the actual limit? She just warps reality to such an extent, and it's like, it's very unclear why there are certain times where it's like, why can she not just do ridiculously insane things and just stop any situation? Like I don't see, there's no obvious explanation in the show for why she doesn't do a whole lot of things with her insane reality warping powers. Do you know what I mean? Like it just seems like way too OP to me.
Yeah. I think I'm probably gonna like have something to do. Season 2 is gonna give an explanation for it.
I guess it's her powers are kind of like a soft magic system type thing, where it's just not really explained, and it's just very, very, very OP at times, and then just very like, oh well, she can't just beat Omni-Man, but it's like, okay, but she can literally warp reality though. Like, why not? Like it just seems very like arbitrary.
It sounds like the traditional arguments for Flash with any conflict he might come across. Like he can just solve things.
Yeah, it's
instantly.
Yeah, I think the only when it's against other speedsters, that's the only time where it's like, okay, well, I guess they're a speedster as well. But then it's like, what is the plot? Is it just a chase? The whole plot is just a chase of speedsters until one of them catches the other one, and it's like, okay, that's the end.
Yeah, because they had to limit the speed force to say it's a finite resource, so therefore he can't always be moving faster than light. But it's like, you know what? Faster than light, you don't need to go that fast, buddy. You can go pretty fast. Don't use it all.
Yeah. So yeah, what else was I gonna say about Invincible? Like the violence is good. I like the violence.
Oh yeah, that is done so well, and I loved how consistent the animation was. There was no part where, like I said, well, they didn't have the budget for this. They went full out.
And I like that it's longer episodes for animation.
I
think it's really good. I think the thing is, like, they could have done 40-minute episodes. So I guess like animation is normally like 24-minute episodes.
24 minutes, yeah. The intro, outro.
So
included.
basically, they could have done they could have split the episodes in half and had like double the amount of episodes. But I think the pacing works better as like the longer, like fewer episodes, but like longer, like closer to like live action series.
Yeah.
And I really liked obviously the scene in the first episode is great, like the end of the first episode. But I really liked in the last episode of the season, the thing with the train, where he just holds them up.
Yes.
And like that was like, damn, bro. And I love the meme of like
I thought about like the Spider-Man 2 scene.
Yeah, but I like the bit where he's like, think, Mark, think, and all the memes that come from that.
I fucking love it.
That where I've seen so many good like fucking. This has been like the most like edits I've seen of something since that thing from Last of Us 2.
Last of Us 2, the sex.
It's pretty much the same style of meme where it's just like taking that screenshot and it's just like I've seen the one where it's like Piccolo and he's just doing the special beam cannon.
Yeah, I love the one where it's like stone toss and like
oh yeah, it's like think libtard, think. What else?
Good series.
I mean, yeah, it is good. Like,
so you guys would recommend
the injuries, man. The injuries,
Definitely.
the way it shows like there are definitely like consistent like consequences and things that happen that show up multiple episodes later, and there's sort of things where they've sort of set it up for next season. I like the stuff they did. What's his name? It's like Sinclair or something. Like the robot cyborg making man. Where Cecil, like, basically they take him in, but then they also kind of hire him. Like they.
The dude was making cyborgs
so it's
at
like,
college.
That was
like,
crazy. This guy's he's a psycho, but
we can use him for something.
It's pretty cool. It's sort of like the German. It's like the Nazi scientist helping us to get to the moon type of thing, where it's like, well, he do be kind of spitting straight facts here. He does have some pretty fire technology here, not gonna lie. Even though his methods of achieving it and of experimenting were really
quite
dodgy.
questionable.
Right, but it's still like, okay, but now that you've made it though, like now that you've created this technology,
we can still use it.
That's kind of cool though, right? That's kind of cool. Yeah, and just the sheer like power of like Omni-Man and the way like the hits like reverberate through everything. And like every like hit has all this like impact and stuff. And a lot of what I'm talking about is just the animation, like not even really the story. I mean, the story is still like, it is probably more like a Superman in the sense of Superman being an alien, in terms of compared to in The Boys, where like it's not really equivalent to Superman. Like Homelander isn't really equivalent to Superman because he's not an alien.
It's a genetic experiment in that show.
Yeah, but it's not really the same dynamic as like
definitely not
an alien that came to our planet and stuff. Yeah. And also the stuff he says about the lifespan, about how they live so much longer. Where
actually, I think like the way that they sent him is kind of like a DBZ-esque.
Yeah, it's true. I think someone described it as Dragon Ball Z if Vegeta raised Gohan.
Yes.
Like Dragon Ball Z if Vegeta raised Gohan, basically. Which I think is like, pretty accurate description.
Definitely recommend it.
I would recommend it. Yeah.
The Emperor scenes.
I like the running gag of like, if he's gonna win, he's really gonna have to be, and then just cuts to the title screen. It's like, if he's gonna defeat Omni-Man, he really will have to be, and then just cuts.
I fucking hate that. Screen. Like the first 2 episodes were like okay, and then like the last episode doesn't like the worst moment.
It does kind of cut the tension to some points, but I think it is kind of funny, like at certain points. Especially, I think there was one where it's like Robot, where he's saying it, and I also like the Mauler twins as well. The fucking no, I'm the clone. No, wait, no, you're the clone. No, yeah. It's like,
and then uses the real one.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
It's good. Yeah, it's a good show. Recommend.
Sadly, I haven't seen it, so I can't talk about it. But thanks for the synopsis. Lots of great shows out there. We just don't know about them. So, the joys of staying indoors too long. She's like, what's out in the world there? I don't know. People have to talk to me about that to find out. So, anyway, that's why I talk to you guys. Tell me these things, 'cause I don't know about these things. I'm stuck in my world of numbers and words and books and like, what? TV? Cool. Movies?
Facts.
Yeah.
Wow.
They have movies now. Oh, they still do. I just don't know about them anymore. I miss going to the movies. Those are good times.
Yeah, same.
You gotta clean up the cobwebs.
Yeah. Well, dinner and a movie will one day be another reality. Oh, just not sure when. All right, guys. I think we pretty much exhausted this video. Under 2 hours. We're doing okay for a 13-minute video. You know what? It didn't hurt my brain. It wasn't painful. It was just a little pedantic.
It wasn't pretentious.
Yeah, a little pretentious, but yeah.
Yeah, I think pedantic is definitely the word. I think I do agree with like pretty much the premise of like something can have a lot in common with the previous thing and still be good. You know, that's basically
Yeah.
If that's all you take away from it, it's like, that's pretty much true.
Alrighty. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. We were gonna do one about Skyrim, but we didn't have enough people to want to participate.
We didn't get Bears. I think he was the one who wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I don't mind doing Skyrim videos. I just can't really contribute much, and I need someone who is a expert or a passionate fellow who's gonna guide the conversation somewhere, because it's not quite my thing. My open world game has always been Fallout series. So
you haven't played any of the Elder Scrolls?
I have played the original. I've played a little bit of Morrowind, and of course I played Skyrim. So but
neither did I. I only played like Daggerfall, and that's it.
Daggerfall was cool. Yeah, no.
Daggerfall was really cool.
Yeah, there were some, good games. All the Elder Scrolls games are fairly well done. They're just very special. They're a very unique experience compared to other open world or RPG style games. So they're not for everyone, but there is something for everyone, I think, in those games.
Hopefully we'll get an Elder Scrolls 76.
It's already existing. It's called Elder Scrolls Online.
Yeah, they did that already. I thought, you're right.
Oh, they do? Oh, really?
It actually works.
It actually works? Wow.
How is it, by the way? I've never seen it.
You can't crash it with 2 nukes.
Oh, okay.
Wait, what?
More than...
Because I think like Fallout 76, when it was released, like if you like launch a nuke, then you can crash like the server.
Right, yeah.
Just walking crashes the server. It was amazing.
Like putting on the armor.
Many bugs. Yeah,
I mean, it could be worse. It could be worse. You could be forced to actually play the game.
Well, honestly, like Fallout 76 or Cyberpunk 2077.
Well, people who spent $100 just to get that helmet, I guess they were kind of forced.
And the canvas bag that never arrived.
But yeah, the canvas bag, yeah. Allegedly.
We're not doing anything about it. That was the most honest answer I've ever heard.
I just don't fucking know why. I just don't. It's not a multiplayer franchise. I don't know. I just don't see it. I just don't see even why people were hyped. I don't even get it. I don't even get why that's a thing you'd even like.
Honestly,
I don't know.
It's the trailer.
I wanted to play with
they
friends,
made really
but...
good trailer, and I was like, ooh, I want to play that game.
I think if you wanted to be in the same universe, I feel like you should have just got a completely different studio, had a completely different engine, just completely separate, like not even like hardly related at all, like as related as like like the Persona fighting games relative to like a Persona game, like it's like that level of like separation,
right,
for a multiplayer thing. I think.
Well, Fallout 76 will like forever stay in my heart because like my last workplace. We had like one of those cardboards next to my desk because my boss like thought like it's gonna be the next biggest shit. So like he bought like so many copies of the game, and like he thought like he's gonna like make like
really?
big bucks with that. And the only thing that remained is like these decorations of like the Fallout 76 advertisement. And it was, one of them was next to my desk. So every morning I went past it and I was like, oh
god,
can we put this behind the trash can?
where it belongs.
Well, it could have been worse. It could have been Anthem. I mean, that's.
Oh yeah.
I remember seeing
what?
the not the cardboard cutouts of the whatever the Ranger suit, but just the posters like downtown. I was like, what is Anthem? Oh, then I learned about it. Like, oh really? BioWare? Oh no. Just like, okay, this is not gonna fly. And all these copies at Best Buy and whatever were just not being sold. And you're like, wow, what a waste. And now
did it sell worse than Last of Us Part 2 though? Because I know that like that game still has copies on shelves.
Well, The Last of Us Part 2
collecting dust.
The most sold game was it of 2020 or whatever? I can't remember when it came out. But
last year.
But they produced too many copies anyway, so they're still on the shelves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a game where you could have another player play as your companion would be interesting. If like they could just take over control of that character instead of it being an AI.
Like a split screen.
Play as a dog.
That'd be cool.
A split screen games would be great. Again, like I can't miss them. They were cool.
Like Halo.
Mm. Oh yeah, man.
Todd Howard, man. Him alone just sold that game for a lot of people. Because he reassured everybody that it was going to be like AAA title.
Hello, my fellow gamers. It is me, your friend, Hod Tired. I just want to recommend this game. This game, I don't know if you've heard of it. It's like Fallout 76. I just heard of this game, and I just wanted to recommend it to you as a fellow gamer. I am. What do you mean? I'm just Todd Howard in a fucking comedy like glasses and mustache disguise. What do you mean? I'm not Todd Howard. I'm Hod Tired. Duh.
All right, folks.
He'll try to put himself in the game so that he can sell another Fallout game.
Oh, geez. It's stuff like that as well as Cyberpunk. I'm just like, I have this brand new video card. I got to wait till a game supports all these wonderful ray tracing technology. So I'm still waiting on that game to wow me. I'll just do a Google search on what games have it already.
Who has it?
Sorry?
There's a build of Quake 2 that has it.
Quake has it? Really? Oh, wow.
Quake 2, yeah. I think like one of the devs made like a build that supports ray tracing. So
Doesn't Spider-Man have one?
I don't know. I'll have to find out.
I thought that was supposed to be like the big thing.
Either that or I'll get an emulator and play like Three Houses. That'll be cool. That might be fun. I don't know yet. We'll find out. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate your time. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Don't know about what. Maybe Skyrim, maybe not. Who knows? But thanks.